Hey folks, I'm Matt and welcome to the Good Trouble Show. After a 30-day hiatus, we are back, and of course, a lot has happened in the UAP world in these 30 days, and there is a lot to talk about. There's Lue Elizondo's book coming out, the Debunkers' response to it, which of course I always like to go off on how the Debunkers treat Lue and others, the David Grusch lawsuit, and most importantly at the end, what is going on with the UAP Disclosure Act and how you can help. But first, please hit the subscribe and thumbs up buttons on YouTube, leave a comment, and let us know what you think about this episode. You can also find us on X at Good Trouble Show and everywhere else at The Good Trouble Show. You can also find us wherever you enjoy your podcasts. Search for The Good Trouble Show with Matt Ford. And as always, we need your help keeping the lights on. You can become a Patreon member of The Good Trouble Show simply by going to www.patreon.com/The Good Trouble Show. And you can support our show really for the price of a coffee. So anyway, now that's all over, making sure that everything is working okay. So I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute. So anyway, yeah, we got that out of the way. So where have I been? Well, firstly, around this time of the year is when I go and I do this show called Penn and Teller Fool Us in Las Vegas. In my day job, I work as a director of photography, lighting designer, and hopefully one day this show will pay enough that I'll be able to exit that and do this for a living, because I really do enjoy it. So anyway, I thought I'd share a couple of photos here. So let's see. So this is the Penn and Teller Theater. So here we're loading in the show. This is at the lovely Rio Casino, which is. Yeah, it's kind of not the best place, but anyway, it's not bad. Anyway, let's see here. What else do I have? Let's see. So this is where I sit. I sit in a video truck. So as opposed to this show, which is very much like cable access television with not a lot of professional equipment, I sit in a video truck, and I basically get paid to make pretty pictures. So if you look over there to the right, that's this monitor that I sit in front of, and in this case on Penn and Teller, it's 12, 13 hour days. They're very long days. So there's Teller there. So so essentially my real job, I make pretty pictures. I tell people what colors to turn lights and all of that sort of thing. I've been doing this for really for quite some time. So that's my day job. So prior to going away to Vegas for 3 weeks, and I have to say, Vegas for me is very boring because I don't drink and I don't gamble, so there's kind of not a whole lot else to do there. Although I say that this was me on my day off. This was at Caesars. Very sexy photo of me with what I call my magic hat. I love the hat. I totally look nerdy there, and it looks like I could probably be doing a few more push-ups than I already do, which is none. Anyway, so prior to going to Vegas for 3 weeks, my plan was to pre-tape 3 interviews, and literally the 2 days. So the first pre-tape was going to be 2 days before I was driving to Vegas, and then the day before Vegas, I was going to pre-tape 2 other interviews, so that when I was gone in Vegas, you wouldn't have this big sort of lull in content. Well, lo and behold, the morning of when I'm supposed to pre-tape this very first interview, my computer crashes. So the whole show runs on one pretty beefy PC. It's what runs the production software, and there are a lot of other pieces of software that run. As I always say, this show is kind of held together by some threads. And anyway, so the PC crashes. So I'm thinking, it's Windows. I'm a Mac guy, but I'll just reinstall Windows. Everything will be fine. That didn't work. And finally, I decide to call Microsoft, and they run some tests, and they're like, well, you know what? Looks like something's wrong with your computer, the hardware. So, make long story short, I had to cancel all 3 interviews. I couldn't get the PC working at all, and finally, I just gave up, drove to Vegas, and anyway, the people that support our show financially, we have a Patreon page as we showed you earlier, and then people that are also sort of YouTube, they can be paid subscribers as well. I put a post up there and said, hey, look, this is what happened. Unfortunately, I'm going to be off the air because I'll be gone for my day job for 3 weeks, and then also I wasn't able to record these interviews, and then also as well, I'm going to have to replace the PC, which is going to cost a few grand, and I needed to wait for some Google ad revenue to come in to pay for it. Well, lo and behold, everybody on Patreon, they came out of the woodwork and started donating like crazy. There was one individual who wishes to remain nameless, who donated, I think it was right at $3,000 on Patreon, because that was about what the replacement cost was going to be for the computer. And I asked this individual if he would like me to credit him, and this person said no. He was just glad that he was in a financial position to support the show. So anyway, I have to say I was just literally blown away and humbled, and I can't thank everyone enough for supporting us in that way. So this literally did not cost any money out of pocket to rebuild this PC. So I got back into town last Tuesday. The rest of the PC parts came in on Wednesday. Spent Thursday, probably about the next 3 or 4 days, getting everything running, software installed, and make a long story short, I didn't actually get everything integrated until late yesterday. So that was part of the reason I didn't want to book any interviews until I knew this thing was really going to fly, and hopefully nothing is going to crash. So anyway, that's why I didn't book any guests today. So kind of think of this as like a pilot episode. If it crashes and burns, well, at least I'm not embarrassing anybody else on the show but myself. So anyway, that's what happened. But moreover, I just want to really thank everyone on Patreon and our YouTube financial subscribers that answered the call and ended up getting this whole brand new PC. So hopefully we won't have any issues with this thing crashing. So anyway, so that's about it. So today, as I said, is going to be kind of a sort of a test show. I don't think anything's going to crap out, but as I said, in 3 weeks, a lot has happened. So some of this is going to be old news to a lot of you watching at home. But of course, I always like to kind of give my sort of perspective on things and rant about things here and there. This is also a Ask Me Anything format. We have our lovely moderators in our chat room who volunteer their time for the show. So please drop your questions, drop them in all caps. And glad to be here. Glad to be back on the air. Oh, I also want to say as well, I think it was sort of the beginning of last week, I was just almost getting inundated by messages from folks saying, hey, we miss you. Is everything okay? Just checking in. And it was just a overwhelming outpouring of people concerned because this had been the longest I had not been on air. Also as well, as I mentioned, when I was in Vegas doing this Penn and Teller show, we were working insane hours, minimum 12 hours, usually 13. And because of that, and because it's a fairly intense show for me, I wasn't able to really do anything Twitter-wise, and certainly anything in depth as far as catching up with any of the UAP stuff. So that's why I got behind. That's why I was silent, because at the end of the day, I still have to put food on the table. And as much as I would love to be doing this 5 days a week or whatever, I have my day job to keep the family and the wife happy. So anyway, lots to go over today. First thing I want to talk about is Lue Elizondo's book. Now, Lue Elizondo's book, Imminent, is due out August 20th, and their publicist, HarperCollins, posted this clip that Lue had on his Twitter feed. All right, well, that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Now, of course, this has been in the works for a while, and as everyone knows, this portion of this book actually leaked. Now, I skimmed through the first kind of bit that leaked out, and I decided, for my sort of reading pleasure, I wasn't going to read any further. I pre-ordered the book a long time ago, and I want to enjoy the book. And I also, in a way, after kind of, reading the first few pages, I kind of felt a little bit kind of dirty reading this thing that was not supposed to be out there. So anyway, I shelved it. I've seen some folks that have posted some things up there regarding the book, and especially the debunkers. The debunkers actually, they went crazy. So Mick West, he posted literally 12 posts over this leaked portion of Lue's book, and it was just bizarre. And now, I'm going to take a little side trip here. And again, this is a very loose show. There's kind of no real structure to it. I know a lot of folks will say, Matt, you're spending way too much time on the debunkers or talking about Mick West. And I've had, for instance, Gary Nolan once messaged and said, hey, you know what? You're giving these guys too much air. But this is where I sit on this is, so you have this Los Angeles guy that's, I guess, this out of work actor, probably drives Uber or whatever. And some of these other sort of kooky folks that really don't have much of a presence or much of a media impact. They're basically carnival barkers and yeah, I mean, there's kind of nothing of value in anything that they're putting out there. But then you have the debunkers, who I refer to as the professional debunkers, the Mick Wests of the world, and the Stephen Greenstreets of the world. And the reality of it is that these folks have a media impact. You look at Stephen Greenstreet at New York Post, which of course is kind of like the National Enquirer on steroids. But he's got a ton of followers. Mick West, the same thing. I mean, there's really kind of no other professional debunker out there like Mick West. So when I came into this whole UAP thing, and admittedly very new to the whole thing, I was reading all of this stuff and noticed that no one was, for the most part, calling them out. Nobody was standing up to them. And I just finally said to myself, you know what? These guys, it's one thing to be skeptical. I mean, we should all be skeptical to a great extent, not believe everything that someone says to you. But these guys, they are not honest brokers. They're not truthful. And the issue is that they put out all of this content that is just a bunch of BS. But if you're new to the UFO topic, new to the UAP topic, and you come across these guys, you may think, well, you know what? Maybe they're right. This Mick West guy, he's got a British accent. He's very cordial. He's very calm. So he must know what he's talking about. He's a calm, cool, collected player, and he doesn't sound like Travis Taylor. He doesn't have a hick accent. He's this guy from the UK. He's got to know what he's doing, right? So this is why I on occasion, will call these folks out. And for me personally, I think the thing that most aggravates me and really most upsets me about all of this is how they continually go after Lue Elizondo and David Grusch. And what I mean by that is their sole purpose is to try and discredit them. And I mean, let's face it, you've also seen this with AARO and Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But when you back up and you zoom out and you look at these guys, Mick West and Greenstreet, and to a certain extent, John Greenwald, their whole purpose is to stir the pot. Their whole purpose is to discredit the people that are really working hard and trying to make a difference. Their purpose is to discredit Lue Elizondo, to discredit David Grusch, because if you think about it, those guys, David Grusch, Lue Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, and others, they've been in this field for a long time. They hold their security clearances or held their security clearances. They've worked the UAP UFO topic as part of their portfolio. So the counter narrative from these antibodies, these debunkers, they're not there to get to the truth. They are there to lie to your face. They are there to discredit these people. They are there to just lay down the thinnest veil of doubt. So when you hear David Grusch speak, or you hear Lue Elizondo speak, or you read Elizondo's book, you think, you know what? That Mick West guy, he sure was, he sure seemed to not put much stock in what he said. Maybe this Mick West guy knows what he's talking about. And as opposed to sitting on the sidelines and not calling these people out publicly, if you do that, they just keep doing the same stuff. And am I there to change their minds? Am I going to change Mick West's mind? Am I going to change John Greenwald's mind? Am I going to change Basement Boy's mind? No, that's not the purpose, and that's not the reason I do that. Their mind can't be changed because their job is to put out a narrative, and it's either because somebody's paying them to do it, or I mean, God knows why. So as opposed to just letting it go, I'm not trying to change their minds. What I'm doing is I'm calling them out publicly on their bullshit. So when Mick West posts insanely illogical stuff, that's what I'm doing, and that's why I'm doing it. So speaking of Lue Elizondo, so as I mentioned, Mick was just insanely posting all of this crazy crap about Lue. Here he says, a UFO disclosure advocate, Luis Elizondo, describes how the Pentagon trained him to use ESP to remote view adversaries, and how he once, while having lunch, psychically, I think he's misspelling it there, psychically appeared as an angel shaking the bed of a terrorist. Here's another one. It's hard to understand how Lue Elizondo could be so badly mistaken about one of the classic DoD UAP videos that famously appeared in the New York Times in 2017. One cannot help but wonder about the quality of his book, forwarded by Christopher Mellon. Then we have Stephen Greenstreet. It's going to be everything I wanted and more. I think what's interesting about Greenstreet's Twitter thing is he's got a pig as his spirit animal, and that's pretty damn appropriate if you ask me. So. So when you look at those things, it is clear that he is Mick and Greenstreet and Greenwald to a lesser extent. I think Greenwald kind of he tries to play it on both sides. He says, "Oh, I'm looking for the truth, and I'm just asking questions." But boy, something's weird about Lue, or something's off about Grusch. It's I think, in my opinion, it's kind of a Greenwald's way to sort of stir the pot. And when you look at the tweets from the obsessive tweeting about this Lue Elizondo thing from Mick West, you see that he is trying to spin a very thinly veiled narrative that Lue is not trustworthy, that something's not right. He's not like right out the gate like defaming the guy, but he's casting just enough sort of garbage out there to try and poison the well. And that's really what these guys are trying to do. They're trying to poison the well. We've seen that time and time again, even with DOD and the debunkers. Before some big major UAP event happens, be it like a congressional hearing or whatever, the debunkers are out there poisoning the well. It is literally this clown car of incompetent fools who use tricky wordage and language to hide their true intent. And again, Mick West and these others, their intent is not to get to the truth. Their intent is to hide it from you, to get you to stop asking questions, to get members of Congress to stop asking questions. They are not honest brokers, period, the end. You cannot trust anything these guys say because they're not coming from a place of honesty. They're not coming from a place of, it's not like Mick West would post, you know what, it sure looks like Lue got something wrong on the Go Fast thing. It should have been cold as opposed to hot, but let's see what the rest of the book is like. Maybe it was just kind of an error or a typo or whatever. No, Mick doesn't do that. He's not looking at the silver lining. He with his manners and his British accent, he's trying to subtly form this narrative about Lue and Dave to make you question if they are legitimate, to make you question whether they are truthful in what they are saying. And their whole point in this, with Mick West vomiting all of these tweets about Lue's book that was not supposed to be released, and Green Street and whatnot. They are there, they do that to poison the well. And in public relations, the first person that is out the gate to establish the narrative owns the narrative. So when you're the first person to get out in front of it, you lay out these talking points or you put out these things that make you doubt Lue, or question Dave. They are doing that purposely because they know that when they poison the well, when they own the narrative right out the gate, it's hard to get it back. Now, I also said as well that Mick and others, even if they're not using the loaded phrases and these kind of pejoratives to get it to stick in people's heads, people like Mick will use absolutely ridiculous debunks that are just, they're not logical, they're not smart. It's a lot of like circular talk and circular reasoning. A lot of straw man's argument is kind of what he relies on, and this is no better illustrated in comments that he had made about the ODNI directors and what they have said. So what is an ODNI? So it's the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. So Avril Haines is the head of ODNI. ODNI is the oversight body of the CIA. They have multiple sister agencies underneath. It all comes to a head with the director of ODNI. Now, the director of ODNI has top secret SCI clearance. They are able to view any intelligence product they want to. Period. The end. They're not limited in what they can see. they have the security tickets to view anything. That means they are able to view and read any classified intelligence product, being anything from space-based assets, radar, ground-based assets, human intelligence, signals intelligence, anything. ODNI director gets to see every single thing, period, the end. So let's take a trip down memory lane and see what former ODNI directors have had to say about the UAP phenomenon. So here's a clip from the current ODNI director, Avril Haines.
And the main issues that Congress and others have been concerned about are basically safety of flight concerns and counterintelligence issues. But of course, there's always the question of, is there something else that we simply do not understand that might come extraterrestrial?
Yeah, okay, so there's ODNI Director Haines, who is the current ODNI director. And here's a clip from former ODNI director for President Obama, James Clapper.
So next month, a government report is expected to be made public on the sightings of UFOs. As the former director of national intelligence, I think there have been a lot of theories about UFOs. What do you make of these revelations? What might this be? Have you seen any yourself? What do you make of this?
Well, first, I think it is kind of, there is logic to the intelligence community addressing this, since the intelligence community has a lot of practice of dealing with ambiguity and less than complete facts. And secondly, I think it's really important that whenever we witness such phenomenon, that it is recorded and documented for the future. When we may gather more information and have a better understanding of what's transpiring. Could there be life out there? Sure. As huge as the universe is, we really can't reject that possibility. So I think this is a good thing. The transparency. I expect this report will be filled with ambiguity as well. And people, depending on their leanings, will extract what they want out of this report.
How it always goes, right? Where there is ambiguity, people can pull what they want from it. But it does sound like it is, something that we haven't seen before, this type of transparency around this topic.
Yes, and I'm not sure why that is. The only reason to me, for classification would be if there's some sensitive method that data relating to so-called UFOs was collected. But other than that, I don't know why we haven't been more transparent about it in the past, and I'm part of that crime, I guess. And my former capacities were, I didn't insist on more transparency with respect to this issue.
Yeah, sorry for the little audio cutouts there. I guess that's a little bug in Adobe Premiere. Anyway, so I mean, just listen to what this guy says. So let's not stop there. Let's take another step back to the Trump administration with former ODNI director John Ratcliffe on, I think this one's on Fox News here.
So I think we have long suspected that there was life on other planets. But what is going on with UFOs and the report that's coming out? And don't say you can't tell me because you're going to have to kill me. Just tell me what you can.
Well, I know people always want to start with alien life forms and extraterrestrial life. I don't think the report's going to address that. It's not going to rule anything out or anything in, for that matter. I think what's important and what people can expect about this UAP report is I think it'll talk about the number of sightings. They're far greater than have been publicly disclosed before. I think there's been some leaking that there may be as many as 100. I'm not going to dispute that number. But what's more important, Trey, is that the number of sightings and recordings that have been picked up by what we call multiple sensors, that is visual, radar, ISR, satellite. And when you have multiple sensors under conditions where we see UAPs, it explains away a lot of the things like visual disturbances or things like that. And so I hope the report will address why we can't answer some of these explanations, because here's the bottom line. When it comes to national security, ego can't be involved. If there's something out there that's bigger or faster and stronger, we've really got to answer that question. And so having a discussion about it is going to be a good thing.
Well, Johnny, you were a U.S. attorney before you came to Congress, so you're an evidence-driven guy. You've seen all the evidence. I'm not asking you what it is, but are you more skeptical, less skeptical, or the same on UFOs and life on other planets than you were before you were the DNI?
Well, again, I don't look at it from the standpoint of life on other planets. I look from the standpoint of national security, and here's what troubles me right now, Trey, is a lot of people say, well, maybe it's Russia or China. But some of the things that have been publicly talked about, we know for a fact from the intelligence community, we have high confidence that things like transmedium properties and hypersonic speed, meaning vehicles that go at 5 times the speed of sound, or Mach 5, Russia and China clearly didn't have those in 2004 when some of these things were cited and recorded. And so we need to get explanations for them. And, again, if someone is bigger, faster, or stronger out there, we need to know about it. And so we need to have a discussion where our sailors, our airmen, and our soldiers can talk about it and report it so that we have that information so we can figure out what it is to protect America.
All right, well, there you go. So once again, former ODNI director saying that they are viewed across multiple sensor platforms, multiple people. This goes way back. It's pilots. Mick West will say, "Oh, the human memory is flawed." And again, what they're doing, what Mick West is doing, is he is taking something and oversimplifying it and then latching on to that. So he's ignoring the fact that you've got multiple people seeing this, multiple sensor platforms detecting this stuff. So John Ratcliffe, he was really kind of the first ODNI director to really go out and say, we're seeing these things all the time. It's not China, it's not Russia, it's something else. So how did Mick reply to it? So here's his reply. Ratcliffe was a political appointee to DNI with no real experience. Lawyer, politician, Trump apologist. He served only 8 months. He can't talk to you about potential alien life because he knows nothing confirming it. He's heard some cool stories. Heard some cool stories though. So there you go. That's a prime example of the idiocy of Mick West and these debunkers. They're simplistic, ignorant thinking that it's not even worth the screen that it's printed on. Don't know if it's a good analogy there, but here he is. He's pontificating, using his magical thinking and absolutely no reason, basically saying, and I'm a Democrat, I'm not a Trump fan, but he's basically saying, oh yeah, because he worked for Trump, he doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, give me a break. Mick West is not that stupid. He knows damn well that ODNI director sees all of the classified intelligence product. They see the satellite footage. They see all of the ISR product. He knows that, but he's lying to you. He is misrepresenting the truth, and that's just how these guys operate. You can't trust them. I encourage everyone here that's a fan of the show, when you see Mick West or Stephen Greenstreet just spewing their fountain of garbage, reply to it on Twitter. Call them out and say, you're full of it. We know what you're up to. We know you are trying to derail this. We know you are lying to us. We know you are lying to your followers. We know that we know what you're up to. We've got your number. We know it's an act. we know it's all a put on. We know it's a debunking con. These are all basically con artists. Long and short of it. So now, just when you thought we were done talking about debunkers, let's turn to the king of debunkers, the former director of AARO, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. Now, our friend Mark von Rennenkamp interviewed Sean Kirkpatrick and found once again Kirkpatrick continues to lie.
Go fast actually was explained at the NASA panel. They did a really nice job of pulling that apart and demonstrating that that was parallax.
I've got a lot more, just briefly, quickly on Go Fast.
Okay.
NASA did not account for wind. That's a massive scientific error. And when you account for wind, you get a speed. If you're assuming the range is correct and this object was at 13,000 feet, you get a speed that's closer to 100 knots, 120 miles an hour. That's a pretty stunning error on NASA's part, I think.
Well,
planes don't fly in vacuums, right?
I haven't looked at NASA's analysis.
You have not looked at NASA's analysis. Okay.
He hasn't looked at NASA's analysis. So this is all part of essentially a giant coordinated campaign to put the toothpaste back in the tube. Kirkpatrick, I think from the very beginning, from everything that I've been told, a lot of stuff that I can't talk about, his job was to derail this. He has been caught lying time and time and time again. So the thing that all of you at home should ask yourself is, if he's lying to the public, is he lying to Congress? Did he lie to Congress? Absolutely. I can also tell you that the current AARO director, Tim Phillips, he is up to no good. He is a Title 50 guy. He is there to derail this thing. He is not there for the truth. You cannot trust AARO. People cannot trust AARO. Whistleblowers should not trust AARO. AARO is essentially a giant flypaper operation. What I mean by that is they're there to catch the flies, namely whistleblowers, get them to come into AARO, talk to AARO, tell them everything that they are going to whistleblow on, and then Sean Kirkpatrick or Tim Phillips, who's currently in there now, he'll go and he's going to report that up. He's going to report that up the chain. That's their job. He is doing this on orders from up the chain. He is not who his intentions are not what he says they are. Now, there are good people in AARO. There are good people trying to do the right thing. And this isn't about the people of AARO. This is about the leadership of AARO and who sent them there. Odie and I sent them there. They sent them there to put the toothpaste back in the tube, to tell Congress there's nothing to see here. You guys should quit spending time and money on this. This is the Pentagon and the intelligence community lying to Congress, lying to the American people, and they will do everything within their power that will to accomplish that mission. That is their mission. You cannot trust AARO. Members of Congress, AARO has been providing Congress with reports of prosaic stuff, weather balloons, Mick West's balloons, seagulls, all of that kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that AARO has been reporting to Congress. What they have not been reporting to Congress is the mountain of evidence that they hold on non-prosaic stuff. They have a case, a classified case, a Tic Tac case that has more data than the original Tic Tac case. They are not giving that to members of Congress because they don't want Congress to dig into this stuff. AARO is lying to Congress. And we know staffers watch our show, and certain members of Congress watch our show. They are lying to you. Do not trust anything the director of AARO, Tim Phillips, tells you. It's BS. His job is to get you to quit looking. His job is to convince you that you're wasting taxpayer dollars. That is their job. You cannot trust AARO. They are up to no good, period, the end. That's what it boils down to. So here you have former director of AARO, Sean Kirkpatrick, lying to Congress. You have to ask yourself, how is Sean Kirkpatrick still doing interviews on this stuff? He works for Department of Energy. And by the way, Department of Energy has been complicit in this cover-up. The Department of Energy, through a extremely broad interpretation of the Atomic Energy Act, has engaged in kinetic retaliation using members of JSOC to silence whistleblowers, all under the Atomic Energy Act. That's how they're doing it. That's how they're getting away with it. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's un-American. But again, going back to Kirkpatrick, you have to ask yourself, so when somebody goes from one area of the government, and so he was in the Pentagon, the head of AARO, and of course he's supposed to be publicly speaking about UAP, but he retires from AARO, and then he goes to a completely different department, Department of Energy, doing God knows what. And here he is still out there talking about something that he doesn't have in his portfolio any longer. So ask yourself this question. Who is telling Sean Kirkpatrick to keep talking? Who is telling the Energy Secretary, blanking on her name, who is telling the Energy Secretary to let Sean Kirkpatrick keep talking about UAP? Something is up with that, because that normally wouldn't fly. And going back to this whole AARO historical report that was done by Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, I don't know what the hell he's a doctor of, when he pushed this basic conspiracy theory, claiming that Congress had been misled by a bunch of UFO enthusiasts, again, a term you'll see from Mick West and Stephen Greenstreet, into believing a secret government crash recovery program existed. Despite lacking any evidence, Kirkpatrick insisted this was a conspiracy. Kirkpatrick was urging the public to trust him and the Pentagon. He was urging Congress to trust him and the Pentagon. Meanwhile, knowing all along they were lying to them. He argued that former officials and military veterans, such as David Grusch and Lue Elizondo, were ruining their careers over a baseless belief, some kind of pipe dream, trying to convince the public that figures like Grusch and Senators Gillibrand and Rubio's and the Inspector Generals, that Grusch had duped them, that Lue Elizondo had duped Gillibrand, Rubio, and the Inspector Generals. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. His claims had zero proof, relying on vague and unsubstantiated standards. While claiming AARO had the power to investigate, Kirkpatrick admitted that it actually lacked the authority to do so. He had no special agent authority whatsoever, making Sean Kirkpatrick's assertions absolutely empty. They're baseless. He criticized whistleblower Grusch for avoiding AARO, yet AARO's limitations justified Grusch's actions. David Grusch and his attorney knew that Sean Kirkpatrick was not being truthful. They knew that AARO was a flypaper operation. They knew that if Grusch went in there, Grusch's attorney knew that if David Grusch went in there, it put David in legal jeopardy. Also consider Kirkpatrick's frustration at whistleblowers bypassing AARO, and that further highlighted his lack of credibility. Then Kirkpatrick's subsequent retirement, a new role at Oak Ridge National Laboratories, where he previously sent funds, as director of AARO, he sent funds to Oak Ridge National Laboratories, and then he went to work for it, which of course raises significant ethical and legal concerns. His continued unpaid advisory role at AARO, despite legal prohibitions, suggests a deeper conflict of interest with Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. So the question remains whether Kirkpatrick was simply misguided or intentionally undermined, or whether he intentionally undermined AARO. His behavior, combined with connections to key figures in the cover-up, implies a more deliberate effort to mislead. Ultimately, Kirkpatrick's actions seem to align with ongoing efforts to obscure the truth about UFOs, UAPs, which is in and of itself deeply un-American. And to stop and think, he is still doing interviews on this stuff? When you stop to think how the Department of Energy is allowing him to do it, trust me, he's not doing this. He hasn't gone rogue. He's not doing this on his off time. He is doing it at the direction of his bosses at DOE. He has the green light to do it. And again, DOE is a major component of the illegal activity, in particular the retaliation, the physical retaliation, the physical intimidation of whistleblowers, sending members of JSOC or former members of JSOC or security contractors that work for the Department of Energy to go and harass whistleblowers, threaten their livelihoods. It's un-American and it's wrong. And those people, frankly, they deserve to be in federal prison. And I certainly hope whoever has been directing this, the 50-ish or so senior executive service level people that have been propagating this cover-up and running this entire illegal operation, I certainly hope that they end up, the long arm of the law ends up catching up to them. And the people, in particular, these former JSOC operators, former Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, and others that are showing up on people's front lawns and threatening them. And I've heard some stories recently from one whistleblower that when he told me the things he had encountered over a 6-year period of time, it made me sick to my stomach. It made me want to vomit. Because that kind of stuff is not supposed to be happening in the United States of America, period, the end. Doesn't matter what party you belong to, who you vote for, we're all Americans, and we are all supposed to defend the Constitution of the United States. And when you have the Department of Energy running operators to go and hide under the Atomic Energy Act of, 1954, 1953, and this overbroad interpretation that allows them to physically retaliate against whistleblowers, that is just disgusting. And it cannot stand. Members of Congress, you need to call the Energy Secretary back into a hearing, and you need to grill her with some very specific questions. It's wrong. And I hope to have this individual that has endured untold of intimidation by these former JSOC folks. Hopefully, this person will be on the show, and when you hear it, it will absolutely enrage you, and you'll probably want to throw up as well. It's so disturbing. I can't even tell you. Okay, so moving on. So, of course, we have the David Grusch suit. Earlier this month, David Grusch filed a lawsuit against the Loudoun County, Virginia Sheriff, Mike Chapman, and a Jane Doe that works for him. I think it was the FOIA person. But anyway, UFO whistleblower sues sheriff over records release. A retired Air Force officer who testified before Congress that the U.S. government was involved for decades in secret crash retrieval and reverse engineering program involving UFOs is suing Loudoun County Sheriff Mike Chapman and an unidentified sheriff office employee for releasing personal information about him. Ken Klippenstein, then a reporter for The Intercept, filed the records request 4 days after Grusch testified before the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Ken Klippenstein, he's not even a journalist. He's more of his skills are better used to take out the garbage, because it's really kind of all he shoveled. But here again is another prime example of the deliberate effort by debunkers, by debunking journalists, by the Pentagon, by the intelligence community to discredit, to disparage, to throw under the bus whistleblowers. Men and women, men in this case, Lue Elizondo and David Grusch, who have sacrificed everything for this country, and they have sacrificed their careers, they sacrificed their security clearances, they sacrificed their livelihood, they've put themselves and their family in physical peril, all to get you the truth, and all to get all of you in Congress to pay attention and do your job and do something about this stuff. It's sad. It's a sad state of affairs. Now, this Loudoun County Sheriff guy, he surprisingly is apparently voted America's worst sheriff. Loudoun County Sheriff Mike Chapman is an incompetent, vindictive, corrupt, January 6th supporting extremist who doesn't hold corrupt and incompetent deputies accountable, fosters a culture of violence against women, and makes Loudoun County, Virginia, a more dangerous place. Mike Chapman is America's worst sheriff. That was on the website www.americasworstsheriff.com. So I did a bit of research on this guy. Loudoun County Sheriff, this sheriff, has been sued multiple times. Insane amount of times the Sheriff's Department has been sued due to shady, wrong things that he's done. And so it's no surprise that any of this happened with David Grusch. We know that Ken Klippenstein had CIA people tell Klippenstein where to dig for this stuff. It's again, I'm talking to members of Congress here. You cannot trust anything the CIA tells you. You cannot trust a damn thing the intelligence community or the Pentagon tells you, members of Congress, when it comes to the UAP thing. They are lying to you. They are hiding out. They know damn well when stuff comes out, there are going to be a lot of people going to jail. They're well aware of this. And this is why you have the CIA telling a half-bit junk room journalist where to find stuff about David Grusch's PTSD. It's disgusting. And then, of course, you had John Greenwald on a podcast with that Los Angeles clown, questioning whether the money that David Grusch was asking for, whether it was really a legitimate number to ask. And, and again, that's kind of Greenwald's method of trying to say one thing but ask another, stir the pot. And as I mentioned earlier, you have Lue Elizondo, you have David Grusch, you have these folks that have taken such a financial hit because they've thrown their career down the tubes to bring you the truth. They knew they love their country so much. They put their country before self, David Grusch and Lue Elizondo. So then you have people like John Greenwald thrown out there. Maybe perhaps he isn't owed the money. You've got Stephen Greenstreet, who I have to say is probably one of the most disgusting human beings I think I've ever. I certainly have never met personally, but everything that I've read and heard from this guy's a bottom feeder, as Ross Coulthart would say, to a factor of 10. If you rewind back to this piece from Ken Klippenstein, Greenstreet was immediately on it and saying essentially, because David Grusch is on the spectrum, he can't tell the truth from fiction. Again, this tried and true method of these debunkers of Mick West and Greenstreet trying to make you question whether you can believe anything that comes out of their mouths, even if it means going to the bottom of the barrel, as Greenstreet lives in, and bringing out all of these things and questioning his PTSD and whether that affects his judgment and his autism and whether that affects whether you can trust anything that he says. These people are disgusting. They frankly are. And I find it super hard to believe they're doing it for free. It's just insane. Okay, so let's talk about legislation. So we have the UAP Disclosure Act version 2, and this is really important stuff here. So this act was authored by Senators Schumer and Mike Rounds, of course, and is co-sponsored most recently by Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. And this legislation is truly critical to moving the ball forward. Now, the Senate is scheduled to return from its August recess somewhere around September 9th. And shortly thereafter, Senator Schumer is likely going to file what's called a motion to proceed on the National Defense Authorization Act. And this thing is kind of like a procedural step to bring the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, to the Senate floor for debate and the amendments. So this vote is expected to pass, but it's not for certain. Included in this motion is going to be something called a substitute version of the bill, replacing the one initially passed by the Senate Armed Services Committee. The substitute bill will incorporate what's called a manager's package. It's essentially a set of amendments that have been negotiated and agreed upon by both Democrats and Republicans. Now, this motion to proceed will apply to the substitute bill, which will include this manager's package, along with other key measures such as the IAA or what's known as Intelligence Authorization Act, and additional bills that need to be passed alongside with the NDAA. Now, what's important here, everyone, is all of us get frustrated. All of us get frustrated by how things go. All of us can get frustrated by maybe some of our politicians not speaking as concisely about this topic. Maybe they're not saying everything we want to hear them say, but the reality is, these folks are politicians. They have a long game to play. They have to be very careful in what they say. When a senator that sits on Senate Armed Services Committee or Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, they sign non-disclosure agreements. When if they speak out of school and they reveal classified information, or they inadvertently speak about a special access program that they've been read into, they can go to jail. It's not messing around, folks. It is serious stuff. So, when we have certain people on Twitter that kind of rage tweet towards certain senators, one particular male individual that tends to rage tweet towards Senator Gillibrand and others, I can tell you for a fact, Senate and House staffers read those tweets. They hear it. And in some cases, that stuff gets passed on to these senators. And here's the bottom line. Here's the takeaway for all of you at home watching this. We need to extend our gratitude to Senators Rounds, Schumer, and Gillibrand for reintroducing the UAP Disclosure Act as an amendment to the NDAA. It is essential for the rest of the Senate, particularly the committees with jurisdiction over the portions of this legislation, to agree unanimously to include this amendment in the substitute bill that Leader Schumer will present in September, sometime after Labor Day. Now, the the UAP Disclosure Act, it's identical to the text that the Senate approved last year. Word for word, it's identical. So there should be no concerns about it. But the Senate committees with the primary jurisdiction over this legislation, which include Armed Services Committee, Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, Homeland Security, and Governmental Affairs, all of these folks, they have to unanimously approve for this to pass. So we have to urge Senators Peters, Senator Rand Paul, the chairman and ranking members of Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, respectively, with the chairs and ranking members of Senate Armed Services, Senators Reid and Wicker, and Intelligence Committee Chair Senator Warners and Rubio, to consent to the inclusion of this amendment in the substitute NDAA. What we do not want to do, all of you at home, tell your friends this. Tell people that are active, politically active in this. What we do not want any of us to do, period, the end, is to attack Senators Schumer, Rounds, or Gillibrand. Full stop. Full stop. So if Senator Gillibrand posts something that maybe is a little bit guarded or something like that, we can't have people on Twitter attacking her. We can't have people on Twitter or elsewhere attacking Senators Schumer, Rounds, or Gillibrand. Period, the end. They have done their job. They have said what they're going to do, and they have reintroduced this legislation. And it is all of our jobs, it is incumbent upon all of us to support them, to share our support, and to not criticize them. They have done what they said they would do last year when it got defeated. And we should all be incredibly grateful that they have spent this kind of their own political capital to get this back on the books. This is a thankless job for these members of Congress. It's a great political risk to them. They know that they've got the Pentagon, the intelligence community, and the military-industrial complex breathing down their necks. We owe Schumer, Rounds, and Gillibrand an incredible debt of gratitude. So for those of you that are watching, especially all of you that like to rage tweet and put nasty replies onto these senators and congressmen and women's Twitter account, don't do it. You're not helping. You're not helping us at all. They have done their job, and we must show support. Now, there'll be more coming. I think you're going to hear some stuff from UAP Disclosure Fund and UAP Caucus and others on how all of you at home can help push this ball forward. So stay tuned. It's going to be a good time to apply pressure. We have to get this over this hump, and it's time to apply pressure, not Sawan pressure, if you know what I mean. Now, I was on a Signal chat earlier, and Ivan Hanel, a good friend who's also been an attorney for myself, he brought this interesting post up from Matthew Pines that he thought that maybe it didn't get enough traction, and essentially what Matthew says here is there most certainly are special access programs. Oops, I may not be able, I've got to log into Twitter here. Some special access programs, such as those relating to the protection of the president, the continuity of government, and covert action, all known as national programs, are operated from within the executive office of the president. This quote is from the Monahan report produced by the Commission on Protecting and Reducing Government Secrecy, created under Title IX, I don't know my Roman numerals, the Foreign Relations Authorization Act for fiscal years. And its charter was to conduct, quote, an investigation into all matters in any way related to any legislation, executive order, regulation, practice, or procedure relating to classified information or granting security clearances, and to submit a final report containing recommendations covering covering these areas. The Commission's investigation was the first authorized by the statute to examine government secrecy in 40 years and only the second ever. More from this report. SAPs can concern research, development, and acquisition activities, intelligence, or military observations that can be funded by one agency but managed by another, not mangled, which often leads to difficulty in simply accounting for how many programs exist and how money is spent. Okay, so Matthew Pines, we are going to have on our show in the near future. So here's what he's talking about. So there are these things called PEAD, P-E-A-D. It's a Presidential Presidential Emergency Action Directive. I should have looked it up. Anyway, so PEADs sit in the White House. So what does a PEAD deal with? It's a Presidential Emergency Action Directive, I think. So a PEAD deals with things like continuity of government operations. So there's a nuclear attack. Members of the government are sent to classified, undisclosed locations to maintain the operation of the government. That's called continuity of government, or COG, COG. Our nuclear war plans, that sits in a PEAD. That sits under the executive branch. So, for instance, the nuclear war plan, it was what sits in the nuclear football, or what's actually called the Presidential Emergency Satchel, was this book that contained basically all the nuclear launch orders. These things were was put into what was called a SIOP, or Single Integrated Operational Plan. Now, all of that, it was actually renamed. It's now, I think it's called OP Plan, OPLAN. 8088, I think, is the new term for our nuclear war plans. But anyway, all of those things that have to do with suspending the Constitution due to civil unrest, all of those things sit under the executive branch. Now, those SAPs, because they are SAPs, those SAPs that are protected under this presidential order, no one has access to them except for a very small group of people. So an example that I'll give you is there was I believe it was a senator that was the chair of either Senate Intelligence or Senate Armed Services Committee that a few years back, I don't know exactly how long ago, he went to the White House and said, as the chair of either Senate Armed Services or Senate Intelligence Community, I want to view the PSYOP. I want to see what is contained in the Single Integrated Operational Plan that is essentially a different pre-approved nuclear attack plans pre-approved by JAG that sit in the Presidential Emergency Satchel. I'm the head of Senate Armed Services. I legislate regarding nuclear weapons, and by God, I want to see what our nuclear war plan is. You know what the White House and the Department of Energy said? They said, F you don't get to see that. That's a PEAD. So with a good knowledge, I would say, the UAP, the legacy program, anything that has to do with UFO reverse engineering, UFO crash recovery program run by the CIA, Director of Science and Technology, the Office of Global Access, all of that is classified at the presidential level. It's the same thing with things dealing with Secret Service presidential protection. All of those sit in the White House. And a member of Congress doesn't have access to that. Now, and this was very early on, I said back before, when I was new to this, that members of the Gang of Eight, they get to see all of this stuff related to UAP. I found out that is not the case. Actually, Gang of Eight, the only thing they get to see are things related to covert actions. So anything related to UAP, crash recovery, all of that, nuclear weapons, all of that sits under a presidential emergency action directive, PED. You can look up the acronym. But anyway, that's what all of that is about. So essentially, because all of this is classified under the executive branch, it's going to be really difficult for Congress to get at this stuff. And that is why, for instance, the blue ribbon panel on the UAP Disclosure Act is critical, because it places this thing within the White House. So you have this whole UFO thing that is hidden under it's protected by the Atomic Energy Act, and then it's all classified in SAPs that sit under in the White House that members of Congress, Senate Armed Services, all these folks, they can't get at. So you essentially have this whole thing that no one knows what the hell is going on. We have no idea how much the White House is spending on this stuff. We have no idea what the Pentagon is spending on this stuff. We have no idea what the Department of Energy is spending on this stuff. We have no idea what the CIA, the intelligence community, is spending on this stuff. We don't know, because it's all stuffed behind this wall inside the White House that legally members of Congress can't get at. It's a massive oversight issue that it's again this whole thing of this executive branch, this whole argument that you'll see people, some people on the right make, that the executive branch actually has more power than the legislative branch, and you have some of these folks that are arguing for increased authority by the executive branch. But when you've got this executive branch that for decades has had this stuff stuffed away in these PEDs. I'm going to look this up here in a second. What is a PED? There's no, Presidential Emergency Action Document, not directive, document. This is a good old Chat GPT here. Purpose: PEDs are designed to ensure continuity of government and the ability of the president to manage a crisis, particularly during situations like nuclear war, severe natural disasters, or other national emergencies. Specific content of PEDs is highly classified, but they likely cover a range of scenarios: the imposition of martial law, suspension of habeas corpus, censorship of communications, the authority to relocate Congress and other government entities, measures for succession of presidential authority. And again, these are all continuity of operations things. Secrecy: due to their classified nature, very little is publicly known about the specific of PEDs. Discussions or revelations about them generally occur in declassified documents through investigative journalism or in congressional hearings, but details remain sparse. Controversy, secrecy, and potential implications of these documents, such as superseding constitutional rights, have raised concerns about unchecked executive power during emergencies. But really, folks, what you need to be thinking about is unchecked executive powers when it comes to this whole UFO, UAP issue, and the fact that all of this is being illegally hidden from Congress, the fact that you have these defense contractors such as Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and others that possess these craft, that are reverse engineering them as part of special access programs, stuff gifted by the CIA, by the Directorate of Science and Technology, Office of Global Access, that you've got all of this illegal activity going on. Well, it's no wonder Congress can't get at it, because it's all sitting in the White House, stuffed behind this big black, stuffed inside this big black box that very few people have visibility into. And it's a shame. It's got to change. And as all of us that have had exposure to this have been saying, there's no reason the American people cannot be told about a great majority of it without jeopardizing national security, without it jeopardizing or accidentally disclosing any Blue Force things. It's got to happen. Period. The end. So anyway, so there we go. So let's get to some questions. I've kind of ran it on here for quite a bit. Firstly, thank you DKK for the nice $50 super chat. Thank you very much. Very much appreciate it. Let's see. Dougie Hayabusa Fresh. For this, ask me anything. Does anyone know why 2026 and 2027 are significant, and what's the purpose of those years for disclosure? So the rumors that I've heard, and I have no inside information, but I've heard rumors that maybe something is coming. I don't know. No idea. I kind of don't know anything more than that. Wizard Terrence, what do you know about disclosure starting to cover experiencers? I don't know anything about that. There's nothing in there in the UAP Disclosure Act. I think that is going to probably be one of the biggest sticky wickets of this whole thing. So let's just say one of the reasons the government, the White House, is not wanted to out this thing is, let's say that the government theoretically has been well aware of abductions, and let's say that abductions are true. Then I would think that there would be considerable legal exposure for the United States government. So, and again, this is where I think this whole disclosure thing is really a very difficult thing to unravel, because one question is going to lead to another. So let's say President Biden or President Harris or President Trump, whatever happens down the line, gets on the podium and says, yes, UFOs are real. They're not from China. They're Russia. It's a non-human intelligence. They say that at a press conference. You're going to open the floor up to questions. Okay, so these are real. How long have you guys known about it? Have people been hurt in the process? Have people, have security contractors or members of JSOC killed people to keep this thing secret? Was the White House aware of it? Okay, what White House administrations were aware people were killed or harassed over this? Did those presidents know? Were they fully read into it? And oh, by the way, this abduction thing that we hear about all the time, is it true? Oh, it is true. Okay, well, how long have you guys known about it? How long have you known that Americans can't do anything to defend their family from things coming into the bedroom and taking members of their family places and doing things to them? Let's say theoretically all of that is true. Can you? I mean, it is almost impossible to imagine the legal firestorm that will be unleashed upon the government, the legal firestorm that will be unleashed upon Boeing, the legal firestorm that will be unleashed upon Northrop Grumman, and some others. The legal firestorm. Imagine the sheer damage it will do to the standing of former American presidents. Let's say George W. Bush was fully read into this, and we know that some presidents were fully read in, some were not. Imagine the questions for these former presidents. what did you know? Why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you give us information so that we could possibly protect our own families? It would be like, let's say there's a serial killer running around your neighborhood and the police decided not to tell anybody in the neighborhood about it. What would happen to that police chief? They would be sent packing. The amount of lawsuits that would be filed against law enforcement would be insane. I almost guarantee you the exact same thing is going to happen when this comes out. And I guarantee you it is going to come out. More whistleblowers are going to come forward. And everybody sitting at Boeing and Northrop Grumman and others that are sitting on all this stuff that have, we'll just say, theoretically maybe not evaluated or maybe misrepresented their company valuation to the Security Exchange Commission and their stockholders due to certain goodies that they have from our neighbors not from here. And then let's just say the security contractors that people like Northrop Grumman and Boeing and maybe others theoretically may have deployed to retaliate against people. It's going to be a reckoning, a legal reckoning that the likes that these folks have never seen. And people are going to be I guarantee you, people are going to end up in jail. I've said time and again, this is a difficult thing to unravel, but it is going to come out. Members of Congress, people, your constituents are not forgetting about this. The American people knows damn well the government and these aerospace contractors have been lying to their faces, and they're fed up with it. It is going to come out. And when when details come out regarding the retaliation against whistleblowers, retaliation against former program engineers, against anyone that worked on legacy programs, when it comes out the ringer that these folks have gone through and the psychological, the physical intimidation, oh my God. I can't even tell you what will come out of that. And you know what? If the United States government thinks they've got a credibility problem, you guys just keep pushing this can down the road, because when it does come out, and everybody in the government could have taken the easy way out and settled this thing once and for all and stopped this serial lying to the American people and to Congress. The longer you wait to do that, it's not going to go well for you. We've already seen the absolute sheer incompetence of Boeing Aircraft Company. What's going on in space right now? Unbelievable. It's unbelievable, and it is just a symptom of the sheer mismanagement of our private aerospace companies, the incestuousness between the Pentagon and leadership of Boeing, of Northrop Grumman, and these other companies. It's incestuous. It's perverse. It's a perversion of democracy. It's people lining their pockets with money and power. Meanwhile, lying to all of you at home. And the thing you want to stop and think about, you know what? I've never served my country. I've never worn the uniform. I have lots of family that have. I've never walked a mile in their shoes. But what I can tell you is that they love this country. And people like David Grusch, Lue Elizondo, others names that none of you have heard of, that have put country first, that have severe PTSD from their assignments, the things that they've done on behalf of this country, the sacrifices they've made, the sacrifices men and women that have worn the uniform have made in service to our country so that all of us at home can be free. And then when they, as part of their portfolio, have had to deal with the UAP issue or got roped into the program, and then they whistleblow, and then they have people threatening their lives? You got members or former members of JSOC, a rogue, we'll just say a rogue element being run out of the Office of Global Access, going and physically intimidating people, physically intimidating and harassing our veterans, men and women who have given everything to this country. And that's how the Pentagon and the CIA, that's their thanks. That's their big F you. Thanks for sacrificing everything for the company or for the country. That's not how you treat our veterans. It's disgusting. It's un-American. And any one of you at Boeing, Northrop Grumman, CIA, wherever, any contractor that is engaged in any of this, you should absolutely be ashamed of yourselves. And the 50-ish or so of you, the senior executive service level, the deputy levels, the deputies, you know who you are, the deputies in the Pentagon that have been managing all of this. You know damn well it's wrong. You know damn well it's un-American what you've been doing. And you know what's been going on. You can't bury your head in the sand. And I guarantee you, names are going to come out. So all of you, the 50-ish or so gatekeepers that think that you're going to be hidden forever, I guarantee you that is not the case. You have a rude awakening coming. And Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and anyone else that is in possession of goodies from our neighbors that are not from here, it's going to come out as well. And you're going to have shareholder lawsuits, the likes that you have never seen. And the government is going to see lawsuits, the likes that they have never seen, because what has happened is it's inhumane, it's un-American. There's nothing patriotic about it. Terrence Willis, Matt, when we have Lou on the show, and Matt Laszlo. We've had Matt Laszlo on several times. Lue Elizondo will be on our show at a date to be announced. I speak with Lou somewhat regularly. Jessica McGuire, thank you for joining as a production assistant. You're now a financial contributor for the Good Trouble Show. Thank you very much for that. Wizard Terrence, do you have any interviews coming up with the major players in disclosure? Hopefully so. Kim Anderson from Denmark. Thank you very much for the super chat. Good to have you back. Matt, questions. Who are you working on bringing on your show? Spoke to any interesting politicians lately? I speak to people all the time, and I don't like to sort of almost all the conversations are private, and until someone is ready to come on the show, I don't like to talk about it prematurely. Obviously, plans can change, so somebody that says, I think I can come on in a month, and then something happens, they can't come on until later. Jay, doesn't the risk of belligerent actors misuse of NHI and associated tech grossly outweigh the benefits to humanity, the unlimited free energy, such that those in the know will never permit disclosure? I mean, Jay, that's a very good point. I truly think that things related to maybe like propulsion, the energy aspect, maybe certain things, that's knowledge that should not be out there. That is knowledge that I would think would pose a danger to national security, and therefore I think that I think that there are certain things about this that do need to be kept under wraps. However, I do think that that the government can come clean about what has occurred, that we have things, that we have biologics, different things. I think that there is a fine line that can be written where you're being honest with the American people, you're coming clean about bad decisions that the government has made without harming national security. It is possible. No one that I have spoken to, not Lue Elizondo, not David Grusch, no one wants to do anything that will harm national security. None of these guys will ever do anything to harm national security. They have put enormous thought into what they have said. They have put enormous thought into what they have done with this. None of them are there to harm national security. I certainly am not as well. So I do think that there are things that do need to be kept under wraps. That we, you tell your friends, you tell your enemies. So certain things just cannot come out. Ian Harding, thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you for all you do, Matt. You help me not give up hope. I appreciate that. And I think so far those are those questions. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we can't give up hope. Let's say that the UAP Disclosure Act ends up not passing. Let's say that Mike Turner and Jim Himes end up derailing it. We can't, just because you get knocked down, you get back up and you keep trying. We know all of this stuff is real. We know there are a lot of illegal things that have been going on, and you just can't. You just can't give up on it. And kind of a couple last things I want to talk about, and I know I've been on here for a bit. But I had the fortunate pleasure of being invited to Lue Elizondo's residence in Wyoming for a kind of retreat of a bunch of folks. There were some people like myself that were non-government folks. There were very few of us, but there were a large amount of people from the government, from various three-letter agencies that were there. A lot of them came with their families, but it was a humbling experience. Number one, I had so many of these folks that work for the government that have TSSCI clearance come up and say to me, Matt, thank you for doing the show. You are saying the things we cannot say because we work for the government. You are saying the things we cannot say because we would be violating our security oath. You are doing the right thing. Multiple people, everybody that was there had worked the UAP UFO issue as part of their job. It was either currently part of their portfolio or it was formerly part of their portfolio. All of them said, particularly people that let's say are able to view satellite footage and classified product and radar footage. All of them said, without a shadow of a doubt, there is zero doubt that we have UFOs and UAPs that are a significant national security issue. It's not China, it's not Russia, and everyone in the CIA and the Pentagon, Department of Energy and elsewhere, they all know it's non-human. All of these folks said there is zero doubt this is going on. There is zero doubt it is being hidden from the public. There is zero doubt it is being hidden from Congress. These aren't people off of UFO Twitter. These are all people that work in the government or worked in the government and all saw all of this stuff close up and personal. the other thing I found out as well, this is when I was told by a few people there that members of Congress and staffers watched this show, and we're very, very appreciative of that. But it was a humbling experience in that I was talking to people I had never met, never seen their faces, many of which, some of course were some familiar faces, but many of which I'd never met in my life, never heard of. They're not on Twitter. These are folks that have to be, because they work for the government, they can't be public about this stuff. But it was a humbling experience, and the common thread of all of these folks is they knew that what was going on in the United States of America when it comes to the UAP UFO issue is wrong. It's un-American, and it's not what this country stands for. And the fact that you have all of these people with deputy in their titles in places like the Pentagon that are managing all of this stuff, that are lying to you and to Congress about it, they all know it's wrong, and they love their country, and they all feel that it's time. It's high time this comes out. It's high time that people that the government finally comes clean about all of this illegal stuff that they've been doing. Anyway, Ian Harding, thank you for the super chat. Lisa Bowden, thank you very much as well. And I want to say something to Lue Elizondo. I was only introduced to Lue about 6 months ago, and it was an honor getting to spend time with you, Lue, at your ranch, meet your family, meet your friends, meet your coworkers, and I just want to say how grateful as an American I am for all of the arrows that you have caught. There's a lot I know about what Lewis had to endure that I can't speak about publicly. And frankly, it gets me a little choked up. But what this guy has had to endure in professional retaliation and harassment and the abuse from scum of the earth like Stephen Greenstreet and others, the amount of stress I think this has placed on him and his family, you can't quantify it. And somebody like him that cares so much about his country that he risks everything to get this out there out of selflessness and love for the United States. I can't even fathom the level of patriotism that this guy has. The stuff about his book getting leaked and everything going on, it just makes me sad for this country when people, veterans like him, have had to give up so much because they finally just said, you know what's going on is not the country that I'm supposed to be living in. And I think all of us that need to stop and really think about the sacrifices that Lou and Dave have made for not for us, but for the United States of America. They're not doing this for money. They're not doing this for fame. I've been wildly successful in my professional life because I have really good people radar. And the amount of time that I spent with Lue and which it really made me understand how much this guy loves his country. And so I would just say all of us that, I mean, the debunkers are doing it, it's their job to do the BS that they're doing. But I hope all of us just really stop and appreciate the sacrifices these guys have made on behalf of the country, in service to the country, and seeing this perversion of justice, and so when I see the amount of abuse that I see Lue and Dave and others endure, it makes me just mad as hell, because it's not fair to them. These folks are human. They have a breaking point. And, I know, just speaking for myself, how hard it has been to do this show, to keep put food on the table and do all of that, but still service this topic, and, in doing my side work at UAP Disclosure Fund. I know how hard it is for me to pull all of this off. I cannot fathom for a moment what Lue Elizondo and David Grusch, Carl Nell, and these others, Christopher Mellon, other people that I hate to name names because I always leave people out. I can't imagine what they have gone through, the gauntlet of bullshit thrown their way by the CIA, by the Pentagon, by Mick West, by Stephen Greenstreet, by John Greenwald, any of these other clowns. But they get back up and they keep fighting. And if that is not inspirational to all of you, if that doesn't say to you what it is to be a true American, if that doesn't say to you what it means to put God and country first, I don't know what does. But all I know is that we owe Lue Elizondo, David Grusch, and these others an enormous amount of gratitude and thankfulness for what they have done. Because they could have easily have just kicked the can down the road like anyone else. That's what it means to be a patriot. That's what it means to love your country. That's what it means to have fortitude and to ignore and keep going, no matter how many people are trying to tear you down. And at the end of the day, Sean Kirkpatrick, Mick West, Stephen Greenstreet, and these others, the Pentagon, the CIA, all they're doing is trying to tear down these American patriots. It's wrong. It's perverse. And they should be ashamed of themselves. And all of you should be mad as hell at what Lue, David, and these others have had to endure. And it's time that it stopped.